little brief description of each of your companies. I'll start down here with Adam.
Our story starts in 2009 when my son Reuben was born. I started homebrewing then. That's how the name of the brewery came about. In the next couple of years, I was homebrewing a lot. Won some regional and national awards. We were lucky enough to pour at a commercial festival as homebrewers, and we won the People's Choice there. So what actually happened was, I describe it that we got pulled into the beer industry, and that people were asking us for our beer. I was getting emails a lot from at that point, like a faux brewery, you know. So anyway, we liked brewing, and people were asking us for our beer. So we opened in 2012. We started with a 5-barrel system. In 6 months, we were at capacity. 2014, we brewed about 800 barrels. 3 brew houses later, 5 leases later, we're now sitting at, this year we'll be at 21,000 barrels, a 50% increase from last year.
And how many leases?
Yeah, still 5, yeah.
Still 5. Jeff?
Yeah, so like any good brewery, we started as a Bible study. True story. We started actually as a group of, I was in a small group Bible study that met on Friday mornings at 6 a.m., terrible time to talk about the meaning of life. And so we didn't know each other very well, so we started getting together on Monday nights to brew beer together. And before too long, we were making more beer than a Bible study in good conscience could consume by itself. And so started inviting friends, neighbors, coworkers, and for about 4 years, 30 to 50 people would show up in my backyard for beer and hanging out with each other. And my 2 partners and I launched the business officially in 2011. And we now have 2 tap rooms in the city of Atlanta. One's our barrel aging sour facility we call the Garage, and we distribute in Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee. We are opening a 3rd tap room in Birmingham. It'll be open early next year, and we're on track to do around 23,000 barrels this year, which is a similar kind of 15-ish% increase over last.
Beer seems like a good way to grow a Bible study.
Yes, yes. Well, what we talk a lot about our purpose statement at Monday night, which is to deepen relationships over some of the best beer in the country, and it has a lot of roots in that, in those gatherings in the backyard.
Ryan, tell us a little bit about Cape May.
Sure. Well, first, thank you for having me be a part of this. It's a big honor. So Cape May is located in this beautiful seaside town in coastal New Jersey, and we started about 8 years ago. It was me, my friend Chris, and my father Bob. We were 3 idiot homebrewers who naively thought what would be the worst that would happen. I definitely wouldn't do that strategy today. So since then, when we first started, we were brewing about 12 gallons at a time and had 1 bar carry our beer, and that was it. Today, we have about 100 employees. We're distributed in 2 states. We have a wholly owned wholesaler in New Jersey called Cape Beverage, and we'll sell about 24,000 barrels of beer just in New Jersey and a little bit in Philly.
This type of growth doesn't just happen. So how did each of your businesses sort of reach this rapid pace of acceleration? We'll just stick with Ryan and work our way back.
Yeah, I think it was a function of maturity. When we started, it was one thing. It was just 3 guys who'd like to brew beer, and we're really passionate about it, and we're still extremely passionate about it. But there was a time of reckoning where it was like we needed to be all in or all out and do it well or not do it at all. And so we put our big boy pants on. We rebranded about 4 years ago and really changed our direction in terms of what we were doing and really treat it like a business and really have strong financial controls, clear communication, and have a clear North Star for all of our employees.
I'll sort of say 2 key things. There are plenty of things I could talk about. One is just I've got 2 partners, and we have a very balanced set of backgrounds and experience. So I spent 10 years in private equity and M&A and have gotten the chance to see lots of different business models, so kind of understand the finance and strategy piece. My partner, Jonathan, was a marketing consultant, and so he's now our CMO and just has done a phenomenal job creating a great brand. And my third partner, Joel, is really more of an operations guy, has always been that way. And so I don't think any one of the 3 of us, or even the combination of the 2 of us, could have done it by ourselves. So we've really, I think, similar approach to like a business. And then the second thing I would say is I studied psychology in college, and there's this concept called the fundamental attribution error. Most people attribute their successes to their skill and their failures to bad luck, and they assume the inverse about other people, that their success is luck and their failures are a lack of skill. And I would say we've really tried to be self-aware and recognize. We were also really fortunate to open at a time when the market was a lot less competitive, and there's inevitably an amount of just luck that comes into this. And so we try to keep aware of that every day and avoid kind of resting on our laurels and continuing to be humble about what got us to where we are.
How about you guys at Reuben's, Adam?
Yeah, so we started small, and it was just me and my brother-in-law. So we're a family brewery named after our son. My brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, and my wife all work in the brewery. So we started, and we were tap room only. That was the plan. And I was I'm from finance background. I used to run some finance teams at a big telecoms company. So I decided to have no financial plans at all, no forecasts or budgets.
That seems like a good idea.
Yeah, I was reneging against that. So I just had a how not to go bust plan. That was all I had. And I just wanted to concentrate on the beer. I didn't have any sales plans. And we just kept our heads down, focused on the beer, kept on coming up with new ideas. And people would come to us asking us, for kegs, or would come to us. We had one of the major retailers in the US coming to us saying, if you want a bottle, we'll buy every single bottle in your first batch you can make. So this is working pretty well, I'll just keep on doing this. And then we're just constrained by capacity. So all of our barrelage up until we built our third brew house and brewery that started brewing in December last year, up until that point, every single year we're at max capacity in production. So we were just being pulled forward with each expansion.
I was going to say, Adam, you are growing at a very rapid pace, which I would, for a lot of people, it feels like you're jumping out of the plane and you're figuring out the parachute on the way down. So when you are growing at this rapid pace, how do you know when it's the right time to make those decisions to grow and when it's time to be like, let's just wait to see if this is a real thing? Yeah,
so from a finance background, so I'm from the UK originally, sounded more Australian now with the twang, but I've been called Russian as well. Which is
that a Seattle twang?
Yes. We don't, I don't want to get over our ski tips on anything, so we're self-financed, we don't have any investors. Again, that was part of the plan, so I could just concentrate on making right decisions for the long term, not for an investment return. And every expansion that we've done has been like so obvious, it's kind of crazy. So we opened our current 30-barrel brewery in December last year. Well, what were we at before that? We're at 14,000 barrels the year before. About 9,000 barrels of those was trucked up the street on a forklift, 8 barrels at a time, into a fermentation facility we had with our canning line. So the business case for the bigger brew house basically paid for itself with just efficiencies around labor. Mm-hmm. Like right now, we're going to triple our tap room size next year. And where's the business case for that? Well, you kind of realize that you need to expand your tasting room when you're sitting in the tasting room and people have to go outside onto the sidewalk to get in the line for another beer. So that's it's kind of self-evident.
Man, you've got some terrible problems going on at Reuben's. Yeah. Jeff, you've got the financial background. How do you make those decisions on growth?
Yeah, I think similarly, we talk a lot about of trying to avoid what we call feeling facts in the industry. There's a lot of them out there, and so similarly, when we're making a big decision, or frankly, even doing something like hiring another person, we always start with what's the return on this, and is there another way that we can do this where we don't have to make incremental investment? I love what Peter said about having your team working more efficiently. So we spend a lot of time when we're hiring people seeing, is there capacity within the team where we can shift responsibilities around? But at the end of the day, also recognizing that as an entrepreneur, you have to take risks. So I think that's the sort of the flip side when you come from a financial background, is you have to recognize I can have everything that's down on paper, and I'm still going to have to roll the dice, and it's never going to play out exactly like I planned, and I just have to be ready for that. So we always say we should go into it and take a risk knowing what the downside could be, and so we don't want to be surprised. We're okay with failure, we just don't want to be surprised.
Right. How about you guys at Cape May, Ryan?
Yeah, I do want to point out, I think it's interesting that all three of us up here have come from a financial background. So we think really critically about every decision we're making. So whether that be how much we're going to spend on CapEx in a particular year or particular hires. We're trying to work on an expansion at our facility now. We're kind of whacked up in a number of different buildings, and we have a lot of beer contract brewed because we're out of capacity, and we're passing on it. We're saving the opportunity to potentially acquire another brewery that maybe has overextended themselves. themselves. So yeah, it's really, you got to think critically about what you're trying to do.
What a sign of the times that is. Like, you're sitting back waiting for a potential opportunity that you could get for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, I think that even, I mean, everybody knows, right? And there's like a big tell.
not a
Even
secret.
yesterday, it's no secret. And even yesterday at the seminar for partnering with a potential partner, like equity partner, I mean, that room was packed. And there was the one guy who was talking about how he had 125 different breweries they're talking to right now. I mean, we've been approached by 2 different breweries right now for an exit strategy for them.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I want to switch gears a little bit, and it's sort of on the same topic, but on employee engagement, when you are moving at that rapid pace, Peter talked about it a little bit here. How do you keep employees engaged when you are on that rapid growth curve? I'll start with Jeff.
Yeah, I think the first thing you have to do is not assume that you know what they think. So especially for once you get to a certain size, and we have about 70 total employees, and it's really dangerous for us to assume that we know how engaged they feel about the various different aspects of the business. I'm increasing. I can't assume that every one of our employees. We really try to have two-way open dialogue, but it's dangerous to assume. So we've started doing an annual employee engagement survey. So we've done that for the last 2 years, and I told it's completely anonymous. We don't divvy it up by department, so that we really try to get a good view. And actually, we've even shared it with a couple other breweries, just our questions. So if there's anyone who's interested in conducting our employee engagement survey, we'd love some benchmark data. So that's the first thing, and then we present it back to the team. And we have a very clear plan on here are the places that you told us we need to get better in, and this is what we're going to do to actually address it. Or we're struggling to come up with a way to address this. Help us come up with a plan.
Yeah, Ryan, how are you guys keeping Cape May's workforce on the same page?
Yeah, it becomes challenging with 100 people, so we do a lot of certain things. We do an employee engagement survey about every year. Every employee from Cape May Brewery and Cape Beverage has a Credo card, which has our values on it. If you ever meet somebody from Cape May Brewery or Cape Beverage, has to see their Credo card, it should be on them. So we talk about and celebrate our values. We do all kind of daily huddles within the different departments. We have a state of the brewery biannually. And I mean, it's like all different kind of communication. It's really challenging when we have multiple buildings and people are always spread out. So it's really important to be able to communicate and articulate what the goal is and what we're trying to do and how we're going to get there.
How about Reuben's?
Yeah, it's one of our hardest growing pains, I would say, with 32 people now. When we started, there was 4 of us, and everybody learned by osmosis, right? You were like next to each other, and it was pretty simple. Now within 5 different locations in Seattle, it's a lot harder to communicate. So we did a brand refresh earlier this year in September. That started in November, where we started defining our strategy. So what was in my wife's head, getting that down on paper so we could eloquently describe it, not just to our team, but also to our distributor partners, so we have consistent understanding. We're building out our values now. We're going to start hiring based on competency, based interview techniques. But you've also got to know what you're not necessarily good at, right? So my wife is a lot better. I'm British, right? So we're not very good with touchy-feely interpersonal stuff. Like the stereotype sometimes holds up, and so my wife is a lot better at that. And we've just hired a director of operations also to help. We've realized that there's a need to improve in that area for sure, and we're doing a lot of good stuff as well.
How difficult is it to delegate sometimes in some of those roles, or to take the hands off, but still maintain like the ownership, like Peter was talking about?
Yeah, I mean, like Peter said, at the end of the day, I'm responsible for everything, whether it's good or bad or indifferent, right? So, I mean, I've managed teams for the last 20 years, so it's just something that's in your psyche. It's not hard to let go of the baton as long as you know it's being taken and being run with. So I like being given proactive feedback that people have got the project and it's moving forward, and then I get very comfortable. But yeah, I don't think that's a problem for us.
Jeff, how do you get comfortable allowing other people to make decisions?
Yeah, I think It's becomes increasingly, I think at different life stages of a company, you have to be more comfortable with letting more go. And I think we've just kind of crossed a new threshold of that. And two quick thoughts. One is that it happens over time with individual people. You build trust by giving them smaller things. And as they kind of prove faithful and competent at those things, you give them more. So we've really tried internally to focus not just on how do we grow our underperformers, but how do we push and invest in our overperformers and people with a lot of potential. So giving them incremental responsibility, even if it's not a promotion. And then the second thing is trying to make a distinction as a leader between accountability and responsibility. So I'm ultimately accountable for everything that happens, but I can give responsibility to actually carry out a task or lead a project to someone else, as long as they know that I have their back. And so if they fail, it is as much on me as my failure as a leader as it is on them. And I think building that confidence help for people to know you've got their back when you give them a big responsibility helps to cultivate that and gets me more comfortable with it as well.
Yeah. Ryan, how do you know if somebody's the right cultural fit at Cape May?
Well, I think for us, with our core values, we define them by saying, would we be willing to fire somebody if they don't live one of them? And it's the absolute truth. So if we have somebody who may be good at a particular skill but is not necessarily adhering to those values, you got to part ways. Otherwise it's going to be just going to be a constant battle.
Jeff, you mentioned the mission statement at Monday night. I feel like cultures and mission statements are bound to evolve. So how do you sort of change that as the growth trend continues?
Yeah, so we make a distinction between our purpose statement, which never changes. We will always exist to deepen relationships over some of the best beer in the country. Our mission, which is kind of the 3 to 5 year statement of where we're going, and then our core values, which also never change. And so how we live those out and what it looks like every day can look different sometimes, but I do think, and then there become more formal ways that you implement and structure them, but those should never change. And the way we think about it is if Joel and Jonathan and I started another business, those same 5 core values would be the same no matter what industry, because they're really a reflection of the kind of business and people that we are and what we want our company to embody.
As you're growing, there's bound to be conflict. So when conflict does arrive, as far as ideas or directions the company's going to go, how do you handle that? I'll start with Adam. I'm sorry.
Just a conversation.
Yeah.
Right? So we're still a relatively small group, so we would you've got to have everybody on the same page, otherwise things won't happen anyway. So I don't think if you're all going in the same direction, you're going to have that much conflict anyway. We haven't had any big issues ever like that.
Yeah. How about you, Ryan? How's Cape May handling conflict?
Yeah, I mean, people leave not because of the job, they leave because of their manager. So if you don't have clear goals and clear expectations set for your individuals, you're doing yourself a disservice. And what we do is we try to set up incentive and profit sharing programs by different departments. So when everybody's marching to the same beat, it proves to be extremely successful.
You guys are bucking trends now, but we've seen craft slow to single-digit growth. How are each of you preparing for the day when maybe you guys aren't growing at the same level?
Yeah, we've been anticipating this for quite a while, and so we've been shoring up our financial literacy training for all of our employees and on our books, making sure we have enough capital to deploy for different opportunities, and anticipating that this is going to come. We're not immune to the problems of breweries before us, and it's going to be a reality. And so what we try to do is diversify as well with the Cape Beverage and different opportunities beyond just hazy IPA.
Yeah. How's Monday night fortifying itself?
Yeah, I mean, similar, making sure our balance sheet's in good shape, and then continuing to innovate and not being afraid to not pulling back from innovation. I think if anything, this is the time to be pushing forward. So we kind of think of it in some ways kind of like a tech company, which is a weird thing to say. But tech companies, they have a lot of small beta tests that they're running all the time, and they figure out what's working. And then the good news in beer is you have a pretty short cycle time to see if you've got a new product that works. And so we have 10 or 15 things going all the time. And then when 2, 3 seem like they got some legs, we hit the gas on those, put the others on the side, and come back to them later.
We're running out of time here, but I want to hear from each of you. In the next 5, 10 years, where do you see your respective businesses? I'll start down here with Adam.
So we have a long-term goal of enjoyably expanding people's love of beer, and so that will be everything that guides us in the future. That will be like the 10-year big, hairy, audacious goal. But in terms of 1 to 2 years, we know we've got a lot of headroom just in category-weighted distribution, and we're building out volume into our current brewery. We're just not going to overextend, because I think people that are going to be in trouble are those ones that are undercapitalized. So you need to make sure that you have enough capital so you don't start making bad long-term decisions for short-term necessity.
Yeah, Jeff?
Yeah, I think continuing to grow, and obviously we have kind of 5-year revenue and targets, et cetera, but we really want to do it in a way that's deepening our relationships and connections to the communities that we're a part of. So for us, opening new tap rooms is a way, in markets where we already sell wholesale, is a great way to do that. So I anticipate selective, careful, thoughtful expansion there, and then very carefully picking wholesalers in new markets where we can do it profitably and we can have great partnerships and be a top 5 craft supplier for each of those distributors.
Excellent. Bring us home, Ryan.
Yeah, so we think hard about financial literacy. So my goal the next, even the shorter term, is having every one of our employees be financially literate and know what they can do to move the dial. So that, and be as deep as we can in New Jersey. I mean, we're only in a fraction of the number of places we should be in the state.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Give these guys a round of applause. Congratulations on the Rising Stars.